Hi gaming guys, and welcome to another top 10 countdown for Gran Turismo 6, and in this particular top 10 selection we're narrowing down the 10 best, at least in my selection, my opinion, of the best GT style or GT class race cars. And this includes multiple categories. You've got GT1s, GT3s, GTEs, N24 style cars, etc. Now, it's important to note that we will not be including the Japanese Super GT cars in this list. That's for another list. There are so many vehicles in that category that we're just going to do a top 10 for those alone. In this particular list, though, we're focusing on basically everything else. The European ones, the American ones, etc. Now, it is important to note that everyone has their own favourites in this category, and it's a category with a lot of cars in it. So by definition, there are going to be vehicles which you may love, which probably won't be here. There are cars which I love, which I can't put in this list, because I cannot genuinely say that those cars that I might love, such as the Lister Storm, which is probably my favourite GT car in the game, just isn't better than the cars on this list. It's a great car, but it's such a competitive category that what may put some cars into a top 10 may hardly be any different to ones which don't make it in. So there are going to be cars that aren't featured. But for now, let's get on with the list. Kicking us off in 10th place, I'm putting the Corvette C6 fictional race car. Technically speaking, it's a C6R, but it's not accurate to the real-life model, which is a shame. It would be cool if it were a representation of that car. Overall, though, both models of the C6 race car are very good. You've got the Z06 and the ZR1. Overall, though, I would recommend of the two, the ZR1, because both are well priced, but for the roughly 100 grand more of the ZR1 version, you do get significantly more power, more torque, and that obviously results in better acceleration. The handling is also very good for a car that's so powerful, and the only thing that stops it from being higher on the list is the surprising lack of top-end speed. The top speed on both C6s is not very good at all compared to many of the other cars here. In 9th place, I'm putting a vehicle which you don't see many people use that much, the Nissan GT-R N24 race car. This is the more production looking model. It doesn't have the huge body kit. It's an all-wheel drive model. You're looking at 500,000 credits. And for 500,000 credits, what you get is actually deceptively good. Because although it definitely doesn't have as good handling as many of the other cars here, what it does have is a great price, and most importantly, this is the fastest GT style race car in the game at 282 miles per hour. That is a lot faster than most of the other cars on this list, with one notable exception, which we'll cover later on. But for official GT machines, this is the quickest one. In 8th place, I'm putting the first of two McLaren F1s on this list, and both of them are very popular, and as such, my placement of the two cars will undoubtedly be controversial for those who enjoy them. This first model on the list is the F1 GTR from the McLaren dealership. It's the car which won in the Le Mans, and it's aka the short tail GTR. It has good handling, strong straight line performance, not necessarily quite as high a top speed as you might expect, but it can do around 250, which is certainly not bad, and for the price, it can genuinely take on GT machines and also even some prototypes. In 7th place on the list, I'm putting the most expensive car here at 2.25 million credits. The concept car which turned into concept race car, the GTbyCitroen Polyphony Digital Original racing car. This is a car which should be real. It would be awesome if it was, but unfortunately it isn't. What it is on the game, though, is extremely powerful at near to 1,000 horsepower, very popular, not hard to see why given the looks and the speed. You're getting roughly the same kind of top-end performance as a Corvette C5R or a McLaren F1, but with better acceleration, and the handling, though temperamental depending on tuning, can be made to be extremely fast. In 6th place, I'm putting the other McLaren F1 available in the BMW dealership, the F1 GTR sponsored by FINA. This is the long-tail GTR, and the reason why I'm placing this car higher is because although it has similar power to the GTR of the short-tail variety, the premium, it's a lot lighter at roughly 950 kilos, and it handles much more like an old-school prototype car, whereas the newer model handles more like a modern GT. They're both excellent, but overall I have to give the edge to this version. Perhaps lower on the list than some might hope, and also technically not deserving of being here, is the Ferrari FXX, but the reason why it is here is because by GT style machines I'm referring to vehicles of a competition nature that are based on existing models. So stuff like homologation prototypes don't apply, such as the Panos, but the McLaren F1 for instance does because it was a road car first. This of course is based on the Enzo, and although it doesn't race in the same series as the others here, it falls under very similar parameters, similar power, similar weight, and even similar performance. Now, this is the vehicle which is the fastest on the list for pure top speed, the car that I mentioned about the Nissan GT-R comparison. This car can do roughly 285 without NOS or slipstream, making it the quickest car here. It's also the quickest off the line, and although the handling is a little temperamental depending on skill and tuning, when you get it right with the FXX, there's not much that can come close. In 4th place, I'm putting the main rival of the FXX, its partner in crime, if you will, the Zonda R. Again, not a GT-style machine as far as regulations go, but similar in design. Based on the Zonda existing model, but with radical design changes, a Mercedes GT-style sourced engine, and extreme performance. It's almost prototype level quick around the track, and although the top speed at roughly 265 isn't as quick as the FXX, I have to give this car the edge for a couple of reasons. One is the price, which is cheaper than the FXX, and also the handling. Some people prefer the FXX for its pure ability, but the Zonda R is a little more beginner friendly and not quite as temperamental. Perhaps surprisingly, moving up now into our top 3, I'm putting the Dodge Viper GTS-R Team Oreca. It doesn't matter which race number you choose, they're both just as good, but this car is undervalued. It's faster than the Corvette race cars, it's priced the same as the Corvette race cars, and it can beat a lot more GT class machines than many people give it credit for. Many people assume, being a Viper, that it's probably more of a straight line machine. That is not the case. This has excellent handling, far more grip than you'd expect, and with well over 1,000 horsepower, you're looking at over 260 miles per hour, one of the strongest acceleration abilities of any GT car overall, and this is just a car which, if you buy it and tune it to whatever PP level, it's always competitive. In 2nd place, I'm putting another car which is deceptively good, but this is a car which more people have realised is as good as it is, the BMW Z4 GT3. This is quite simply a brilliant car. 350,000 credits is ridiculously cheap for a full premium GT3 car anyway, but add on top of that the fact that you're running almost 1,000 horsepower, 260 miles per hour top end potential, phenomenal acceleration and superb handling, and basically you've got, as the list would suggest, one of the best GT cars in the game. It really is one of the best. If you haven't bought this car, definitely do so. And that's coming from someone who's not even a fan of the car, but even I have to admit just how good this thing is. And finally, in 1st place, and for sure some people won't agree with this, but I have to put the Mercedes SLS AMG GT3. 435,000 credits means it's almost as cheap as the Z4, again with almost 1,000 horsepower, but the reason why it just edges out to 1st place for me is that the handling is a little smoother than the Z4, and the top end performance and acceleration are also quicker. Overall, if you're only going to buy one GT car, any of the ones on this list will serve you well. but for me personally, the one which just edges it out above all others has to be this one. But that's it overall for my top 10 selection of cars which you should definitely check out in the GT class, and as always I've put more information and tunes for all of these models down below. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.